games, and he said, "You can't see that?" And I said, "No, you can." I just assumed if that was fuzzy and blurry to me, it was blurry to everyone. Or if that, driving down the highway, if the sign over there was blurry to me, it was probably blurry to everyone. Because it's such a slow, gradual thing, I didn't notice. Now that I wear my glasses and my contacts and I take those off, I think, oh, I can't believe how long I functioned without them. So same thing, hearing loss happens so slow and gradual, sometimes it's hard for you to notice, and more than likely the people around you will notice before you do. They notice that you're leaning in to hear. They notice that you're saying what a lot and not hearing and understanding the conversation. But for you, it's very difficult. If I have normal hearing right now, if I woke up tomorrow morning with even a mild hearing loss, I would be into my doctor. I would be scared, because I could hear that going from normal to even a mild hearing loss rapidly. You notice, but because it happens over years and years and years, you tend not to notice as quickly. Also, if I had a hearing loss, wouldn't my physician have told me? Only 16% of physicians routinely screen for hearing loss. So just because you had your annual physical, your once-a-year physical, and they tell you that everything's okay, that doesn't mean that they looked at your hearing. So you need to check that out on your own. Again, everyone mumbles when they talk to me. Most likely it's you, and most likely it's a high-frequency hearing loss because you're not hearing as clearly as you once did. Pretending you don't have a hearing loss is more noticeable than wearing a hearing aid. Saying what or nodding your head yes when your answer should be no, or laughing at something when it wasn't a joke, that is much more noticeable to people than wearing a little device in your ear. So it's much, much more noticeable to not do anything about it than to wear a hearing aid. Hearing difficulty can affect your family and friends and your quality of life. We talked about that a little bit. So myth number 2, background noise. Hearing aid technology has improved immensely. With the software and the technology that we have now, the little chips that they put in these hearing aids can do so much, and they are so tiny that we make them small enough for a completely in the canal hearing aid. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're extremely tiny and they fit totally in your ear canal, and there are incredible features now that we can fit on those hearing aids, which also goes to the cost of hearing aids, the technology that's in them now. But we are able to do a lot more with background noise than ever before. In the Starkey hearing aids, we have what's called an acoustic signature. What the acoustic signature does is picks up the environment that you're in and adjusts the hearing aids automatically to that environment. So for example, talking face-to-face is much different than a board meeting, is much different than a huge stadium, is much different than out on the golf course. So what these hearing aids will do is pick up the environment that you're in and make adjustments appropriately. So if you're out on the golf course, it'll pick up the wind noise. You give it a few seconds. It'll tell what frequency range that wind noise is coming in, and it's going to reduce it. Okay, so it's automatically, and this is all automatic without you having to press buttons. It's going to read your environment, and it's going to make adjustments for you so you can hear better. With hearing aids, like I said, we can't go in and fix the nerve, but what we can do is manipulate the sounds that you're in so that you can hear better, or try to hear better in those environments. We also have 2 microphones. We have 2 microphones in our hearing aids, and what that does is the front microphone is designed to pick up who you're talking to pick up speech. The back microphone is to pick up the noise around you and cut and reduce that. Now what happens with these hearing aids is people will purchase them and they'll spend thousands of dollars and they'll take them home and they'll come back in and they say, well, my wife was doing the dishes in the kitchen and I was in the living room and I asked her for something and she didn't hear me. Well, if her back is, she's at dishes doing, if her back's to him and she's doing the dishes, you're not going to hear those sounds. It's designed to pick up who you're talking to. So, good old face-to-face communication instead of yelling to another room is something that you have to do. So, you have to work for this too. When you go into a restaurant, you need to think about, if you can choose your seat, you want the noise and things behind you. So you want to be able to sit with someone, the noise behind you, and you want to talk to the person that you're eating with. That way that back microphone is going to cut that background noise, but increase the speech of the person you're facing. If you're sitting in the middle of a restaurant, you're talking, across from someone, and there's tables here, 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 the hearing aid doesn't know if you want to hear that person, or you want to hear that person or that person. The hearing aids aren't that smart yet. It might be coming, but not just yet. So you guys need to put a little effort into it too. So you need to think to put the noise behind you, and you need to face who you're speaking with. Also, all hearing aids whistle. This has come a long way. In the past, hearing aids were just amplifiers. They would just turn everything up to the point that they'd squeal and whistle, and then you'd have a volume and you turn them back down. This is much improved. Feedback should not happen anymore unless there's sound leaking out around the hearing aid. So sometimes it's a fit issue. Sometimes people say their hearing aids are working great and they're not getting feedback except every time they chew on a steak. Well, you can imagine when you're chewing on a steak, it changes the shape of your ear. So sometimes whistling can happen. So what you'll need to do is you need to see your hearing specialist, and they can remake that hearing aid to be a tighter fit for you, so it won't get that leaking. But feedback should not be an issue anymore with today's technology. So you can turn up the volume and you can hug without whistling. So hearing aids make my own voice sound funny. That's true. When you think about it, when we're filling your ear with hearing aids, it's similar to sticking your fingers in your ear. I sound like I'm in a barrel. My own voice sounds funny. It sounds like it's echoing. And that's what happens with hearing aids. I mean, they're amplifying outside sounds, but your own voice does sound funny because we're filling up your ear with something. So we do something called venting, which is a hole in the hearing aid that allows some air in and out of that ear canal, so it doesn't feel completely blocked. We also have very popular what's called open fit hearing aids. So now it's a tiny piece behind the ear, and there's a thin tubing that comes down and into your ear, and it leaves your ear more open. So you can still hear some sounds naturally, and you don't feel as blocked up or occluded. So these are the ones that are open in your ear, that go behind your ear and then open in your ear. And then this is that CIC, that very tiny hearing aid I spoke of, and we'll put venting in it, a hole through, so it aerates your ear a little bit. Hearing aids can't help me on the telephone. We have automatic telephone response. So when you pick up that telephone, you'll hear doo-doo. It'll automatically detect the energy from the phone and switch to a telephone program. So you no longer have to mess with things and press buttons. It'll automatically switch for you when it detects the telephone. So they're too big and ugly. Well, today they're very tiny, they're sophisticated looking, and it really is a generational thing. The younger generation don't think anything of hearing aids, especially the way they look now. They're all sleek colors behind the ear, because we're all walking around with iPods. My wireless phone I have on my ear all the time while I'm driving. I mean, we don't think anything of having it on our ear. So it doesn't make you old. If anything, nowadays, if you get a cool color, it's going to make you look cool to your grandkids. So they are very sleek looking. They're made to look very modern. And they look just like my earpiece that I use for my cell phone every day. So this is some of the different styles. We have the BTE, which is behind the ear. The in the ear, which is a little bit larger. As you can see, they get smaller. And then this is that open look. Now this all depends on what your hearing loss looks like. Sometimes these very small ones aren't powerful enough. You can imagine the larger the hearing aid is, the more power it can hold. The more power it has, the less battery life. So there's all different things to kind of consider. But you'll have to go over that with your hearing specialist. And it really is based on how much hearing loss you have. This open fit hearing loss is really made for that high frequency loss I spoke about. So it's pretty normal in the lows and you go dropping off. That's a perfect candidate for these open fit hearing aids. Because you're normal in the low frequencies, that open fit actually allows you to hear those low frequencies naturally and only amplifies the high frequencies. So it all depends on your hearing loss, what would be best for you, and also your lifestyle and things like that. So these are the colors of our receiver in the canal, which are the open fits in the ear, the thin tubing that goes into your ear. We actually worked with the Beverly Hills hairstylist, so we can match your hair color. So these 6 colors were designed to match your hair color, so you'll never be able to tell. So why Starkey can build the best? Starkey has the most advanced technology, and as Mr. Gibson said earlier, all companies say that. It's a patient-focused company. It's more than 400 scientists actively working on research and development. We have a research and development center in Minnesota and also out in Berkeley, California. It's research-driven design of all products. Nothing is released without extensive research.